On Monday, June 15th, 2026 at 10 a.m., we'll be at Sutter Cemetery for the Flag Day Flag Retirement Ceremony live. Flags are properly burned or buried by members of American Legion Post 705. Watch the replay at 7 p.m. Special programs you won't see elsewhere. Keeping the community aware. Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.
Through the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
Tonight on Yuba-Sutter.LIVE, from City Hall in Marysville, the Marysville Chinatown Town Hall replay recorded last night. Hear Chinese community members and local residents in conversation about the future of Marysville's Chinatown. Hear community feedback from a wide range of folks. Now let's go inside and learn more about this grant-funded look into Marysville's Chinatown and what to do in the 21st century.
So, I just want to welcome you. My name is Dan Flores. I'm the Assistant City Manager and Community and Economic Development Director for the City of Marysville. And this is a really exciting project that we've been working on for about a year. It's called the EEI grant, and basically it's a joint grant that the city received through SACOG, the Sacramento Area Council of Governments. And through this grant, we have a mission to work together in partnership with the Chinese community. And I will introduce John Lim, who's the president of the Chinese community. And we're working towards a goal of creating a report and creating some visioning for the Chinese community, for Chinatown. And one of those goals is to designate what is Chinatown. What exactly are the parameters of Chinatown? What street does it go to from which street to another? The other is streetscapes. So what kind of streetscapes are we going to look at in Chinatown? What can we do to improve Chinatown and make it better? So those are like some of the main objectives. And John Lynn and Carrie Hawk from Sapphire Marketing, who's helping us tonight too, and she's been helping us through the whole project, can explain a lot of the details, and they're going to share those details with you in the presentation today. But we're very happy to have you here. Please feel free to speak out, give us your ideas, share what you think is going to happen and should happen in Chinatown. And with that, I'm going to introduce Mr. John Lim, who's the president of the Chinese community.
Hi everybody, my name is John Lim. I am the president of the Marysville Chinese community, and I'd like to thank everyone for being here tonight. As you know, this is part of the grant, the EEI grant, this is a pilot grant. There was 12 grants awarded total. We were one of the grants that was awarded for that. And with this grant, what it was is for a way for the Chinese community and Marysville to set up parameters and to say what we'd like to see happen or what we'd like Marysville Chinatown to look like and how we preserve that charm, and if you've been around long enough not to have another emergency show up. I think that's my idea. But anyways, tonight Carrie put together a slideshow. This is some data, used by some data that we gathered beforehand. We've been working on this for a little bit more than a year. And as Dan said, there'll be a time for some questions. Please make sure and answer any of the questions on there. There's also QR codes that you can scan. And yeah, thank you everybody for showing up.
Hello, okay, I'm here. Hi, I'm Carrie Hawk with Sapphire Marketing Group out of Yuba City, and I've had the pleasure of working on this project with the Marysville Chinese community and the city of Marysville. So tonight I'm going to give you some of the data we've collected, and we also have a survey that we would like for you to participate in as we continue collecting data to build the Chinatown blueprint. So I'm going to throw a lot of information at you, but if you have any questions or would like a copy of this slide deck at the end, I have a couple copies in front of me that I'd be happy to share with you. So the background is the grant was secured from State COG through a partnership between Marysville and the City of Marysville and the Marysville Chinese community. The Marysville Chinese community has $350,000 to work on this project. We've had a couple of stakeholder meetings. Stakeholder is defined as somebody from the Marysville Chinese community or a property owner in the direct vicinity of Chinatown. We've determined Marysville's Chinatown footprint. We've discussed attributes and characteristics that pay homage to the Chinese history in Marysville. And we've reviewed options for hardscaping, landscaping, and transportation improvements. This red outline identifies the footprint that we and the stakeholder group identified as being the original Chinatown footprint in downtown Marysville. You'll see it goes all the way over to the levee, B Street, everything on the west side of B Street, everything there on the north end of this map on the south side of 3rd Street. And you can see how the map jogs over. So that is the defined area that the stakeholders determined is Chinatown. These are some of the street enhancements that we've looked at: lanterns over the street, bilingual signage. We've talked about greenscaping and park improvements. We've talked about design elements for major renovations or new construction. And as you can see, some of these, when you look at that bottom center picture, some of the railings and the windows, some of the attributes, the roof lines and eaves, these are all design elements that will likely be incorporated into future design projects in Marysville. So planning-wise, this grant was to plan what we want Chinatown to look like. I know John said that, including green spaces, architecture, park spaces, transportation, wayfinding, and Chinese attributes. And at the end of the grant funding period, we're going to be allowed a small amount to implement a pilot project. We've been conducting surveys throughout the community for a little over a year, starting with last year's Buckeye. We launched QR codes. They appeared on posters, on table cards at the Buckeye Hostess reception. Blue Zones helped us out last year, 2025, and set up a booth at the Buckeye Parade, and they collected information. And then at this year's Buckeye, we had a few people walking around ahead of the parade before it started, giving a survey to attendees. And I'm going to share a lot of those survey results with you now. So this is one of the questions: what would bring you back to Chinatown and historic Marysville? The #1 ranking was more cultural events, activities, fairs, and festivals. So that got 68.6% of the feedback. Improved shopping options got 52.8. Enhanced dining experiences got 46.9. And historic tours has 39.8. More survey results. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the overall attractiveness of Marysville's Chinatown? So on the left, that's poor. On the right, that's excellent. So you can see the greatest amount of feedback came in that bar number 4, so 34.4%. But I would say that's a good, not excellent category, and 31.3 thought it was excellent. Have you visited the Buckeye Temple? 81.3% said yes, and 18.8% said no. We asked what would encourage you to visit the Buckeye Temple. The feedback was better explanation of Chinese customs, more attractions in Chinatown, and improved public information about the temple. Should there be street signs in both English and Chinese in Chinatown? 89.5% of people said yes, 10.5% said no. All right, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the signage and wayfinding in Marysville's Chinatown? So 1 is being poor, 5 is being excellent, so 3 and 5 tied at 29%, so I think that's definitely some room for improvement there. On a scale scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the walkability of Marysville's Chinatown? So 1 is poor, 5 is excellent. 50% of people said they felt it was excellent. If the streets of Chinatown were closed during the weekend for events like a farmer's market, would you attend? 77.8% of people said yes, they would. Do you think the roads in Chinatown need improved? 55.6% of people said yes, and the other yellow wedges, not sure. So my guess is that people hadn't really experienced the roads in Chinatown. If you've walked Chinatown, do you think the sidewalks need improved? 56.3% of people said yes. And then we have 31.3% that said not applicable. Again, they just may not have experienced that and don't have any knowledge to base a yes or no. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the overall parking availability around Marysville's Chinatown? So 1 being poor, 5 being excellent. You can see that people feel that it's excellent overall. Would you like to see a Chinese-style arch constructed in Chinatown? 95.6% of people surveyed said yes. Do you consider Plaza Park part of Chinatown? So Plaza Park sits just to the west of Silver Dollar Saloon, for those of you who aren't familiar. 100% of people said yes. Okay, now this is another part of the survey that if we were to make some park improvements in Plaza Park, what would you like to see? Number 1 ranked at 60.9%, a Chinese-inspired green space. Number 2 at 55.4% was benches and tables. And number 3 was 52.2% said they'd like to see a water feature for children and families. Now also ranked high in this part of the survey was that we would have a water feature on a timer and it would be turned off from dusk to dawn, and increase security in the area to make sure that there weren't the unhoused population using that park. This is just an AI rendering of what an imagined park might look like there. You can see there's a splash pad with a koi pond type of fish theme, and tables like pagodas and benches. It'd be a nice area for the community to enjoy Chinatown. Okay, the top 5 public space improvements that came back were lanterns strung over the streets, so lit lanterns over the streets. Improved Plaza Park to increase usability by adding seating and park features, adding safety and privacy features, the arch gateway, bilingual street signs, and points of historical interest. The top 3 safety, transportation, and walkability issues were bollards or gates around Chinatown so that the streets could be closed off for events, walkability improvements, and with regard to transportation, traffic calming measures, diagonal diverters, crosswalk improvements, and street improvements and resurfacing. We do have some imagined renderings of gates, so what a gate might look like. So these would be gates that would essentially close down Chinatown, and we could hold cultural events there, but also having some firsthand knowledge of like the Marysville Peach Festival, it's possible that we could look at moving something like a large festival down there and closing it off with these gates. And each gate would have one of the Chinese zodiac symbols, like you see the dragon, the rabbit, and the horse and the snake. The top 3 tourism development recommendations are Bokpai Temple preservation and access, placards on buildings honoring Chinatown's history and historical figures with interactive features, and offering unique experiences, interactive workshops, culinary tours, cooking demonstrations, and school tours. Now, this is where we want to hear from you. So when you walked in, there was a survey. We printed these out because I know not all of you want to scan a code and take our survey. but this is the survey that you'll find is that QR code link. And we are collecting more information. We'd like to hear from you before we really start assembling the blueprint itself. So does anybody need one that didn't get one, or is everybody okay with scanning the QR code? And John is grabbing some for those who wanted a paper copy. All right, I'm going to get up with a mic and walk around, and if anybody has any questions or feedback for us, now would be the time to ask questions and give feedback.
So with the grant money that we have, how realistic is the vision that you presented financially? I mean, would it be realistic to meet all those goals that you presented today? Would it be partial?
Do you want to answer that, John?
So with the grant that we got, it's just funding to provide, to come up with the blueprint and identify possible avenues of how to pay for it. So for example, with the park idea, I've been talking with the Jim and the other people in the city, about how much it would be, and then from there, I've been myself looking into possible grants through whatever entity. Also, with some other things that are happening, we might be able to fall into some of those grants. For example, we're talking about roadways and walkways here because that might be able to be possible to roll into another grant. So basically, this grant is just for fact finding and for making a blueprint, and then getting it into the general building or the general plan for Marysville and to have it in place. And then, as stated, there's a small at the end. There'll be a small sum that was set aside for a pilot project. So, for example, if we identify something within the means, within that cost, then we'll go for it once we get approval, obviously. So, for example, like the signs, those are an easy and expensive thing to do, right? So we can go ahead and put new signposts and new signs up if it fits in that. So that's what the money is actually, what the grant money is actually awarded for. With the idea, again, like I said, is trying to identify down the road how we're going to implement it, how we're going to make it feasible, and what we're going to do. I mean, and then obviously we need a lot of help from the city for the public parts, but for the private parts, that's a whole different level of box.
Any other questions? Feedback?
So the first question it has about going to the levee, I thought we weren't supposed to be on the levees. How are you going to make a staircase up there and have bikes up there?
You want me to answer that?
Please.
Okay, so what we want to do is allow, there used to be a staircase there, and what we either like to do is replace that staircase, but we also, for modes of transportation, to encourage bicycling as a mode of transportation, perhaps build a ramp coming off of the levee by the park to, so that people can access from the levee. It would not affect the integrity of the levee. Anything we would do would not affect the integrity of the levee. Tom, did you have a question?
I wasn't sure. Are we only asking questions on these questionnaires?
Oh, no, you can ask whatever question or give us whatever feedback you'd like.
Oh, okay. I'm so glad I don't even need that.
It's mostly for.
Oh, okay. So these are great ideas. I've been to the very initial meeting and I haven't. So this is coming along great. Thank you, John. Thank you for coordinating all this together. So know that there's going to be a lot of activities going on once this takes place, and that's what we want to encourage people to come in to utilize Chinatown and Marysville. As the case of the Bakai Temple, the only issue that I see that it might cause an issue is that when we constantly close those streets right in front of the temple, So the worshiper coming, they're not able to access the temple easily. That temple's already difficult to access unless you know that there's a parking lot or, parking on, what is that, First Street or Silver Dollar is. I just would hope that we consider that when we invite activities there, that is still, especially Saturday and Sunday during the day, we're only open until 3, that those are accessible to the worshiper. Again, going back, if it wasn't for the Bacchai Temple, the whole Chinatown really wouldn't be there right now. So that's the only thing is that volunteer for the Bacchai Temple that I would wish we would consider when we plan stuff as such.
That's great. Thank you. Thank
Can
you.
I ask you a question? How big is the Chinese population left in Marysville now?
Well, I have no clue. the people that come to the temple is not from Marysville.
Oh, I know, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. How large is the Chinese population in there?
Yeah, I don't know.
Real quick, so if we can go back to that first, the first question, with the staircase on the levee and whatnot, that access, I wasn't sure if I was able to talk about this or not yet, but apparently there's a plan to have a bike corridor and a path going all the way from the hotel all the way down through town, coming up B Street around in there. And so my idea with that and what we're talking about putting a bike path from the park up into there is because it would interconnect with all that. And if we can interconnect with all that, then that would answer the first question that came up, where would all this money come from? Because that would hopefully fall under that grant that's being sought and looked into at this moment. And I wasn't sure until just now, a couple minutes ago when I asked Dan if I was able to talk about that yet. So that's why they're talking about the staircase and then also a bicycle path access up there.
Well, this is planned, right? It seems whatever follows the plan will probably be in phases. Projects like this typically follow phases. As the money accumulates, you do something, accumulates some more, do something more. It would seem initially you'd want attention getters, things that would define Chinatown, a gateway arch like a Second and C, and the lights to make people aware, oh, you're in Chinatown. And that's a big thing. The awareness is huge. It's beginning somewhere.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, and Supervisor House for coming tonight. We appreciate you.
I'd like to go back on to the water park. I'm really not in favor of it because our worshipers that come here, they take it very seriously, what they're doing. And coming from the Bacchai Temple, they also end up in the park. And I can't see a kid's activity going on during the time period that we're taking our worshiping very seriously.
So my question to you now would be, if there were not a splash pad, but there were green spaces and water features that were not family-oriented, would you be in support of that?
As long as it's not interfering on the days that the worshipers are there during that time. There is a period of time. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have feedback or comments? Anything to say, Tom?
Well, somebody mentioned to me a meditation environment. Have you ever heard of those? I don't know if it's a Chinese thing or a Japanese thing, but they're a thing.
Oh.
There's one up in Orville. I'm going to stop there and take a look at that. And it's not like a maze, it's a circular.
Oh.
And you walk this circle for meditation. And
Will you take a picture and send
I
it to me?
can do that.
Thank you.
And there is a grant available to give one free.
You like cheap for free, right?
Yeah,
That makes it
that's me. And I guess at some point you'll talk about trying to increase museum hours.
Yeah, I think that it was one of the rankings on one of the, they wanted, I think it was more historic tours and access, I believe, so. Okay, any other?
Yeah, I was questioning how you can have clothes from Dawn to Dusk and still have housing. Housing upstairs.
Oh no, that was just for, would you support like a zoning change for the area that it is? So that you have mixed use, so you would have housing upstairs and commercial downstairs. Yeah, like apartments upstairs and like a commercial restaurant or store downstairs.
Right, but you can't close it from Dawn till none if somebody's living upstairs.
No, it's just the park. The park only being closed to the public from dusk till dawn. Yeah, not the whole area. No. Yeah, we want to leave that open.
Yeah.
Yes. All
I
right.
was gonna say, you're gonna have deliveries on tonight, I'm gonna close.
No. Thank you. All right, any other?
How can we send more feedback besides the survey? As far as we have all.
I will, if anybody would like to, I'll give you my card. So just come see me after the event is over here tonight. I'll give you my card. We'd love more feedback. Also, if you scan the QR code, the very last question is additional feedback, and you can type your feedback in there. Okay, that's fine. And then for those of you who filled out those surveys tonight, if you'll make sure to just leave them on the table out front, and I will put that data into our Google form so that everything, your opinion's populated in there, okay? All right. Anything else from anybody?
Well, I would just reinforce Mary's point about the water park, because I think it turns it into, a Disneylandish, what do you call those things? But
Okay.
I think it should be more thematic to the Chinese, theme that we're trying to promote here. So, and the temple's kind of hidden over there. If you have some more gardens that are thematic, or an arch, or an attractive water feature that's sort of classy, that would help call out the fact that we have a beautiful little,
Temple there?
temple there.
All right. Good feedback. Thank
I'll
you.
get it.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else have a comment or feedback of Judy? Yes.
Just what I know you are the marketing firm, but I want to know who's going to market this outside of the area to bring people to our location.
I think that's one of the steps that will happen after the blueprint is created. We'll decide how it will be marketed for tourism in the future. Yeah, but it won't be funded with the existing grant funding. All right. Anybody else? All right, John, you want to say anything before we close tonight? Take cookies with you, please. I don't want to take those out.
Carrie, can you describe to the audience the next steps and timing of the next steps and participation?
Okay, so next steps, we're going to collect data from this survey, and starting in July, August, we will start creating the actual Chinatown blueprint. The plan is to have a draft of that done by the end of the year, so by the end of December, and then we will meet with the stakeholders once again, present that draft to them, then make edits to the draft, and then next spring we will present the final blueprint to City Council.
Who's going to maintain the water park if you guys build that? Is it up to the city to keep it going? Or
I think that's to be determined, that it would be a partnership of some sort. That's my understanding. We would try to partner with the city, the Marysville Chinese community would hopefully get some grant funding for the ongoing maintenance of the park, or be able to raise funds for it. Okay. Anything else before we finish up tonight? All right. Well, thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Take the town hall survey. Just very simply use the QR code that we have here on the screen. That's simple to do. We're going to leave it up for a few seconds, probably another 30 seconds or so. I'm Ted Langdell, Yuba-Sutter.LIVE, and we have been happy to bring you this particular production here. one of the many things that we tend to do. If you like this kind of thing that we've been doing around the community for about the last 5 or 6 years, let us know in the comments, and if you would like to help us out, there are links in the comments or in the text that's below or above the video. You can click on that link and contribute to what it takes to keep this type of activity going here in Marysville, Yuba City, Yuba, and Sutter counties. There are some other things that are going on here in the area, including where we will be on Monday. On Monday, June 15th, 2026 at 10 a.m., we'll be at Sutter Cemetery for the Flag Day Flag Retirement Ceremony live. Flags are properly burned or buried by members of American Legion Post 705. Watch the replay at 7 p.m. Special programs you won't see elsewhere. Keeping the community aware. Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.
Through the perilous fight, or the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there.
You can support or sponsor, help keep the community aware with Yuba-Sutter.LIVE.